Welcome to Football Forecast Weekly, the most popular football program in America, featuring Dennis Tobler and Fred Wallen.
Welcome, everyone, to Football Forecast Weekly. Dennis Tobler here in Las Vegas at Bet Central, as usual. And we're going to be discussing this week's college and pro football action. But before we get into the program, let me bring on my co-host and my superstar. That's Mr. Fred Wallen. He's the famous sports broadcaster, announcer, commentator that's on Sports Overnight America every weekend, heard across the world on Sirius and Sirius XM and all the apps. Mr. Fred Wallen. Fred, welcome to the show.
And is Flightline something or not? And you find out he won't be racing as a 5-year-old, but unbelievable as a 4-year-old, one of the best I've ever seen. He wins by 8 lengths. You talked about it last week on this very show. And I don't know where he'd rank. It's hard to judge him against horses who've run 20 or 30 times. But off of what I've seen, he'd be awfully tough to beat by anybody.
Nobody would beat him. They retired him this morning to Lane's End Farms to breed. He will probably he's probably worth $60 million right now, I would suspect. So they'll never race him again. And you're right, he's a monster. He is one of a kind, one of a generation. I think he even has Secretariat beat. Secretariat lost its next 2 races. I don't think Flightline would ever lose a race. And I have to tell you, I am exhausted from Breeders' Cup weekend, World Series week, and now the college football weekend had 4 pages in the schedule, and now we're starting on 4 pages of college basketball this week. So this hardworking handicapper is exhausted.
In the top 10 college football, basically we had 3 upsets. Clemson got clobbered by Notre Dame. It was 35-0, ended up 35-21 or 35, whatever, 35-14. Clemson's gone for the year as far as that is concerned. LSU, and I'm very sorry about this because Brian Kelly's not my favorite coach, but I got to give him credit. He goes for 2, and they beat Alabama, and the Crimson Tide now have lost twice. And Georgia and Tennessee, and last year on this show, I picked Georgia to win it. They beat Tennessee badly. But I have to say one thing. I don't know how closely you watched that game, Dennis. Quarterback Stanton Bennett, like he's 5'10". He's a very good quarterback. His wide receiver probably dropped a touchdown pass, and he looks to the sideline like, how dare he drop the pass? That scares me a little bit. They win the national championship last year. I don't think a quarterback puts down a wide receiver because, believe me, Bennett has thrown a few interceptions in his life. He's thrown a few bad passes, and God forbid a wide receiver sort of made fun of him. I didn't like that. I just don't like his attitude. So I'm a little wary this year of making a prediction right now of who's going to win that national title.
Well, the only thing I'll say about it is last week we talked on the show, it'd be the first week that they came out with the ratings. And I was shocked because I said, and the way I seen it, the ratings, Tennessee should be on top. And I'll be damned if they didn't have Tennessee on top, which was a shock to me. Okay, so evidently I got a good handle on what's going on in the college. I'm not going to make a prediction on the championship this year. Let's just hope that these SEC teams beat up on each other and none of them make it in. That's what I hope. Okay, let's move on along to some exciting NFL football. And this week we have 4 teams with byes: the Ravens, the Cincinnati Bengals, the New England Patriots, and the New York Jets, all 4 coming off of big wins, and they get a bye this week. The first game on the board this week is from Munich, Germany, like we give a damn. Okay, Seattle goes and plays Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is a 2.5-point favorite. I'm going to make it an easy analysis for you. Tampa Bay cannot beat Seattle anywhere in the world, so much more in Munich, Germany. I take Seattle to win this game plus the 2.5 and to win it straight up.
What I was going to say was Tampa Bay did not win last week. The Rams lost it. So I agree with you 100%. If you watch that game closely, folks, Rams against Tampa Bay. Sean McVay cost the team the victory, and I'll tell you why. A couple minutes to go. Rams up. Tampa Bay has got 2 timeouts. They throw a pass to Cooper Kupp, and instead of trying to get that one extra first down, which would have meant the game, because they only had 2 timeouts left, the game was at under 2 minutes at that point, he slid down. The coach has to tell, first of all, the guy should know, Cooper Kupp should know, hey, wait a minute, we've got to get a first down here. We're like on our 10-yard line. If we punt, certainly Brady's got a shot to come back and win it. But he slid down. They don't make the first down on the next play. They've got a punt, and Brady has done this how many times now in his career? He led them back to that victory. But I agree with you. Geno Smith is comeback player of the year. They've got the wide receivers. Seattle's an astounding story, to tell you the truth. I'm not a Pete Carroll guy, but they're an astounding story this year. I like you. I've got in Munich or anywhere else in the world, I've got Seattle knocking off Tampa Bay.
Well, one thing I want to do to cheer up our audience out there is I want to bring up the fact that we're still offering playfortickets.com. Remember playfortickets.com, where we're going to give you, along with Football Forecast Weekly in conjunction with football or Play for Tickets, a chance to win tickets to this year's Super Bowl. That's right. I'm not supposed to refer to it as the Super Bowl. So the big game in Glendale, Arizona this year, you can win 2 tickets to that by simply going on playfortickets.com and putting in your 7 selection on the 7 games each week side in total. So if you haven't been playing it, make sure you play it. It only takes 1 week to win it, and then get yourself a chance to win these tickets to the Super Bowl. So go to playfortickets.com and enter each and every week your 7 selections on the 7 games there. And if you win, you will win the trip to Glendale, Arizona. And might I add, $50,000 comes along with that win. So do it today. Go to playfortickets.com and see if you can make yourself a winner and a trip to the Super Bowl. We'll be right back after this.
Now place your bets. This groundbreaking film details the dramatic rise of legal sports betting in Las Vegas and its growth into a multi-billion-dollar industry worldwide. Through in-depth interviews, personal accounts, and vintage footage, we highlight the key elements and milestones that shaped the sports betting industry into what it is today. This history also dovetails with the changing fortunes of Las Vegas as a gambling town at turns overseen by the elements of organized crime, corporate interests, and the U.S. government. Featured prominently in the film are pioneer odds makers and historians who witnessed these events. Today, betting on sports is a popular pastime and a lifestyle choice for many Americans. Its appeal incorporates the innate drive for competition and the rewards of winning. Watch Now Place Your Bets on Amazon Prime and NowPlaceYourBets.com.
Hi, JJ's back because this is important. Do you know if your Medicare Advantage plan benefits are changing this year? Are your costs and copays going up? Is your doctor still covered? During the annual enrollment period, you can call to find out all the changes to your coverage. Plus, see if you're eligible for a plan with the benefit that adds money back to your Social Security check every month. AEP has a deadline, so don't delay. Call now.
I called to find a plan with lower copays and more dental coverage.
I called to see if my zip code has a plan with the benefit that adds money back to my Social Security check.
I called to make sure my doctors are still in my plan.
Extra benefits, extra money. Dynamite! AEP has a deadline, so don't delay. Call now.
Call 1-800-249-1374. That's 1-800-249-1374 now.
Do you listen to the TV on high volume or have trouble hearing conversations? Then you would benefit from hearing aids. Don't waste thousands on expensive hearing aids when you can get Nano's revolutionary technology for just $297. Don't be fooled by higher-priced hearing aids. The CIC Recharge is a true hearing aid, not an amplifier. With rechargeable technology many customers say is superior to more expensive models. Call now and get not 1, but 2 Nano hearing aids for just $297. $297. Plus, we'll add a portable charging case and ship your order absolutely free. The CIC Recharge has a tiny in-the-ear canal design that is nearly invisible. Why keep missing out on important conversations or waste thousands of dollars? Call and get 2 CIC Recharge hearing aids for only $297 and free shipping.
800-854-2762. Again, that's 800-854-2762.
Well, welcome back to Football Forecast Weekly. I'm here with Fred Wallen. My name is Dennis Tobler, and we will be taking a look at some of these NFL games this weekend. Jacksonville on the road to play the Kansas City Chiefs. Kansas City's a 9.5-point favorite. In this matchup here, Kansas City just can't score. I've said 100 times Andy Reid is a lousy coach, and he certainly is. And I wouldn't lay 9.5 on the Chiefs anywhere. Now, Jacksonville is horrible, and they proved it by giving up 17 straight points to the Raiders last week, and then they came back and won the game. Well, that wasn't because they're good. That was because the Raiders were bad. So in this matchup, 9.5 is too much. Kansas City and Andy Reid doesn't know how to call the game. I'm taking Jacksonville plus 9.5. Fred, what do you say?
I don't have a strong opinion on the outcome, but you got to love Patrick Mahomes. Let me just say this. On Sunday night, they're losing 17-9 to Tennessee. Dennis, you knew, I knew, and 95% of the people watching on NBC on Sunday night knew who was going to win that game. Patrick Mahomes, the Kansas City Chiefs, and of course they do. He's an astounding quarterback. Some of the passes he makes, nobody else makes. And it's 9.5, as you know, I've got this 10-point rule anyways. I'm not going to bet a game where one team is a 10-point favorite. This may go over the 10 anyway. So I'm going to pass on who's going to win, but I'll just watch this to just watch Mahomes.
Well, I want to say something about the quarterbacks, about Mahomes and Brady. And when you said you and I and all of us knew that he was going to come back and win the game, you're right about that. And I'm playing live when I'm betting into these apps here. And I can kill him on that. I mean, with 40 seconds left, I got Tampa Bay at plus $2 to win the game. Now, when they missed their first shot at it, I didn't think I'd have another shot, but Brady scored in 28 seconds. So I won that game. And same thing happened with Kansas City. We all knew that they were going to win the game. So I got a money line at plus 230 on that one and took it at that point. So betting live, staking your position first is just a big boom for gamblers these days. And if you know what's going on, it's even better. All right, let's move it along. Houston Texans playing the New York Giants. The New York Giants are a solid team. They're 6.5-point favorites over the Houston Texans, who I don't know who they're going to play the rest of the season, but I think away games are give-me's. I'm going to take the Giants and lay whatever points in this matchup.
Well, Barkley's back to 100%. He's much quicker than he has been the last couple of seasons. Giants defense will dominate here. Mills is not a horrible quarterback, but he's certainly not the best. Lovie Smith's job might be on the line at the end of this year. I'll agree with you. I'll take the Giants minus the points and believe we will win easily in this one.
Yeah, I think so. The home crowd should carry them through. All right, I'm going to throw this one to you first because I have no idea. The New Orleans Saints on the road, 2.5-point favorites over the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Most of my friends here in Southern California are either Patriot fans or Steeler fans. Sorry, Steeler fans. It's a bad season, a bad year. I know you've had a couple of victories there, but I think in this case, the Saints will find a way to pull it out. The number's short enough. I see 3. It's short enough here. I think I'm going to take the Saints to cover that short spread.
Yeah, it's only 2.5, so a field goal would win it for you. I'm going with the Saints also. I said weeks ago, Pittsburgh is in a rut. They don't have any coaching. They can run the ball a little bit, but the Saints are going to be able to score against Pittsburgh, and that's the difference. And from the game they played against Philadelphia last week, they'll be able to score. I'm taking the Saints and laying the 2.5. Another matchup this week, the black and blue division. There's no such thing as Norris division in football. I'll just put that out there for our former host. This is a black and blue division game between the Detroit Lions and the Chicago Bears. The Bears were 1-point favorites last week's line. They jumped to 3 points this week, even though Detroit got their win. And I'm going to start on this one by saying mea culpa to the Detroit fans. I said I would never take them again, and I did. I put them on all my contest cards at the end of the week last week. I couldn't give up that half point extra. And what happened? They won for me. So mea culpa to all you fans out there that I beat up the Lions on. This one here this would be a hard knocking game. The totals went up on it, but I don't believe the total will go over anything here. So they're going to run the ball, both teams. It's going to be a defensive battle. I'm going to play the under 48. That's my big play here. And I think 3 is a solid line. What's your take?
My take is, we talked about this before, Detroit really didn't win last Sunday. Aaron Eagle lost the game for his club, throwing those 2 interceptions in the red zone and another interception on top of that. And where every time his receiver drops a pass, he's blaming the receivers. This one was on Rodgers. I like Chicago. Fields at 178 yards on the ground. Some way, somehow, he'll break for a touchdown or 2. So I think I like Chicago. And I agree with you, though. I don't think Detroit's going to score a lot. So I think we're going to go with the under, and we're going to go with the Chicago Bears in this case.
Sounds solid to me. Okay, let's get one more in here before the break. The Cleveland Browns are on the road. They played well last week against the Miami Dolphins, who are up and coming. However, the look-ahead line last week was Miami 5.5. And as it opened this week, it's only 4. Miami's a 4-point favorite at home. What do you think here, Fred, on 2 improving teams?
Well, bottom line is Tua's undefeated when he started a game and ended a game this year with the Dolphins. So with his 2 wide receivers, who, if you put those 2 together, they're probably the best tandem in the league. I think 4 points is a very short number. I'm going to wager now because I think that number is going to go up. So I'm going with the Dolphins.
I agree with you. I think the number should go up. Cleveland, they were able to run the ball, but if they can't run it against Miami, I don't think they can throw it either. Miami is on a roll. They did make some headway with their trades too. So I do believe that Miami will cover in this matchup, and they probably will win the East in their division. However, I believe at this point, some of these divisions have teams that are under 500 in the lead. So it's a pretty much parity league. And it's pretty hard to figure these out laying the points. But me and you both on Miami.
If you or a loved one developed ovarian cancer after using baby powder or talcum powder products, call now to see if you qualify for financial compensation. A major manufacturer of baby and talcum powder products has been found liable for $4.7 billion in damages because they knowingly sold products containing cancer-causing asbestos. There may be time deadlines, so don't wait. It costs you nothing if you don't win.
Call 800-315-5712.
Hi, folks. It's the Medicare annual enrollment period, and this year it's simple. 1, before the deadline, call the number below. 2, check your zip code for a Medicare Advantage plan with prescriptions, dental care, and the benefit that adds money back to your Social Security check every month. 3, you'll find out what you're eligible for. AEP has a deadline. Call now.
I called to find a plan that covers more of my dental expenses.
I call every year to make sure my doctor is still in my plan.
I called to find a plan with lower copays.
I called to see if my zip code has a plan with the benefit that adds money back to my Social Security check.
I call every year.
Millions of people have called the Medicare Coverage Helpline. You can too. Get what you deserve. AEP has a deadline, so don't delay. Call now.
Call 1-800-490-6545. That's 1-800-490-6545 now.
If you used Tylenol or acetaminophen during your pregnancy and your child was later diagnosed with ADHD, autism spectrum disorder, cerebral palsy, or other neurological disorders, you may qualify for financial compensation. Emerging lawsuits allege that manufacturers of acetaminophen failed to properly warn pregnant women of the potential harm for their unborn children. Call now to see if you qualify for financial compensation. It costs you nothing if you don't win.
Call 800-860-9148.
Listen up, football fans. For this week's best bets, call us at 1-888-604-6863. That's 1-888-604-6863. Be a winner. 888-604-6863. Welcome back, everyone. And now we're going to get to the meat of the NFL schedule this week. And the first matchup I want to throw at Fred is the Minnesota Vikings, who escaped last week, yes, but are playing very well with great record, are on the road to play the Buffalo Bills, who lost last week as big favorites, and by doing so, knocked out practically everyone in the survival contest here in Las Vegas. The one contest at the circuit that had 6,600 plus entrants in it is now down to 50 people. Wow. One man, I want to add this. One man had 6 tickets last week. 6, you're able to buy 6 tickets for $1,000 a piece. He bought 6 tickets for $1,000 a piece. He's the only one that had 6 left out of 100 people in the contest. He put it all on Buffalo. All 6 of his picks on Buffalo. So he lost his chance at $6 million when the Bills went down last week. And so that also shows you a 13-point favorite got beat straight up, Fred. So I don't know what that tells you. Go ahead and have that analyzing this game. Listen, there's some important facts here, though. The game last week was on the board. Obviously, they have a week early line, and that line was 9.5 on the Bills. Okay, this week when the line opens up after the Bills lost, the Minis miraculous win, the Bills are now only 6.5, Fred. They're 6.5. The total's 48. How do you see it?
Well, a lot of that has to do with the shoulder of Josh Allen. Case Keenum.
I think it's his elbow.
His elbow. The point is, we don't know at this point if he's going to play. Case Keenum beat UCLA, I remember when he's in college, but that doesn't make him a Josh Allen. That's worth at least 3 or 4 points just from that aspect. We do not know that at this moment in time. And the other side, though, is this. Minnesota keeps winning, miraculously, as you indicated last week against the Commanders. Okay, but if you look at the stats defensively, they give up too many yards, they make too many mistakes, and they still keep winning. Eventually, mathematically, that has to catch up with it. So until we know who's playing quarterback, I can't wager, but Minnesota is not as good as its record at this present time, in my opinion.
So you think Buffalo's better than their record? Because they have 3 losses, I think.
Well, you've got Josh Allen, and so that by himself is worth something if he plays, and we do not know if he's going to play, and makes it a very, very difficult situation. 7 is not, if he plays, 7's a good number. I mean, you take Buffalo. I definitely take Buffalo. But if he doesn't play, it's Case Keenum. Is 7 a good number with Case Keenum? I don't know. But eventually, the other side, Minnesota's luck is going to end. It's got to.
I agree about Minnesota's luck, and Buffalo probably is a much better team. I will say this. I look for Allen to play.
Okay.
Buffalo can't lose another game. So they're going to give him a shot and wrap his elbow. And I know exactly the pain he has because we all had tennis elbow before. And I seen him crack it on the helmet when he hurt it. And then he grabbed it. And then they said he's got a bruised tendon there. So I don't look for it to disqualify him from this week's matchup. And if he plays, 6.5 is certainly an easy number to cover for them. Minnesota, I think they might have taken last week's game a little, for they were overconfident. Let's put it that way last week. But boy, they came back like Chargers, and they really stormed home to win that game. Fantastic fashion. This is going to be a tough matchup. We never know the weather either in Buffalo at this time of the year. We never know what the weather's going to be. So I'm like you. I don't care, what happens, honestly. I'm going to take the Bills minus 6.5 at home. The Bills Mafia is a great crowd. Whether or not, I'm going to take the Bills here. Also, the quarterback for Minnesota, I think he's getting better, Fred. Is that possible after 5 years or 10 years or however many years?
Well, yeah, I remember Cousins at Michigan State. He was a top-notch quarterback. With Washington, he wasn't great. Yeah, this year he's playing better. But again, he's got you've got some top-notch receivers too with the Vikings. So it's not like it's all on him. And but again, the defense of Minnesota will cave eventually. And it may be this week and maybe next week it'll be a game. Maybe we would never think that it would cave, but it will eventually. I agree with you. I think if Allen plays, Minnesota is a lock in this one.
You mean Buffalo?
Buffalo's a lock in this one if Allen plays.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, let's move on down to two teams going different directions. The Denver Broncos and the Tennessee Titans. The Titans are only 3-point favorites, and it should be noted the total on this game is only 39. I mean, they've now come to the conclusion that neither one of these teams can score very many points because the total's 39. The game's in Tennessee. Tennessee's a 3-point favorite over the Broncos.
Well, obviously the Titans lost a game to Kansas City that they were up 17-9, and they managed to find a way to lose it. But Vrabel's a very good coach. He really is. They've won 5 in a row, and it's hard to win 6 in a row. The other side of it, will the real Russell Wilson show up, or have we seen the real Russell Wilson? At this point in time, I'm not sure. I hope it's not the real Russell Wilson. I hope we see the real Russell Wilson that we've seen in Seattle. They're fun to watch because they're wide receivers. But because of the loss to Kansas City, that line at 3 is very small. It's very so you have to, I think, lean on Henry and his running, and only 3 in this encounter, I believe. So I'm going to give the 3, take the Titans at home.
Yeah, I think smart move. We're not sure Denver can even score, first of all, hence the total of 39. Tennessee's going to run right through them. They can run the ball no matter what. Also, their number 1 quarterback will be back next week. The number 2 quarterback's not bad, but the number 1 quarterback's much better, and he'll be back next week. 3 points at home on a team headed in the right direction against a Broncos team with a lousy coach. And I'm with you. I'm not so sure what's the matter with Russell. I know he did have a torn lat in his shoulder, and then he had a hip problem. But, man, the older you get, the more of those problems you have. So, if you can't get over that and get over the hump, they're in deep trouble. I think they're in deep trouble anyway. The fans have given up on them. Tennessee it is. Tennessee might be one of the best bets this week.
And I think it might be my best bet. And you just brought up the reason why. Hackett might be the worst coach in the league, and Vrabel's one of the best. You've got this much of a separation. It does make a difference. It really does. So I don't even know why the number is only 3. Because folks, in the National Football League, even on college football, you get 3 for being at home. So basically they're saying on a neutral field, this is an even game. Well, it's not an even game because Henry gained 200 yards a couple of weeks ago. He'll gain 150 against the Broncos here. And you got the worst coach in the league, the worst coach in the league against one of the best. So Tennessee is my probably best play of the week.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you on this. I mean, that number's going to go up, people. So if you get it at 3, you better take it at 3. Because the squares are going to bet that one up even. Okay, another team who is, and I was going to lead off the show with this. we're going to talk about the Indianapolis Colts and the Las Vegas Raiders. Okay, so 2 teams, a lot of stuff going on with both of them. I was going to lead off the show this week saying that I think they ought to fire Frank Reich. I can remember him from the time he was a quarterback at Maryland. Okay, am I correct? I mean, he wasn't even a good quarterback at Maryland. He wasn't even a good journeyman quarterback in the NFL for all the years that he's been in it. And I simply think that the Colts getting rid of him was a big, big move. It's not going to help them win anything this year, but it's going to keep them from losing games. He was a terrible coach, a terrible player. He is a victim, or not a victim. He is the beneficiary of white privilege, that guy. He went to Maryland, even though he wasn't the best, and he got all the press. Then he goes to the pros, and he's still in the pros, and he's still no good. Okay. Now the Raiders are coming home after being simply embarrassed. 3 times the Raiders have had 17-point leads in a game this year at the halfway mark, and they have failed to win that game. Now, I don't know if I've ever heard anything like that, but I will say 2 things about it that'll answer the question. First of all, another lousy coach, Josh McDaniel. And second of all, Davante Adams has 10 catches, 2 touchdowns in the first half. He comes out after game at the press conference and goes, "Why didn't the coaches call the same game the second half we did the first half?" Well, that's the same question we've been asking on this show every time every time the Raiders get beat and they blow a big lead. Why do you change what's working? You know, I mean, they blew them out by throwing to Davante. They had them on their heels. They could run the ball a little, and they come back, and it looks to me like Josh McDaniels is trying to run time off the clock. That's what it looks like to me. And that fool is a fool. Okay. And Derek Carr is taking the rap for all of this. And it isn't Derek Carr's fault. I mean, he's calling the plays. And one other thing I want to mention before I throw it to you is McDaniel don't like him to change the plays. Well, I got news for you. Carr is a better coach, a better offensive coordinator, better everything than McDaniel. So he should let Carr change the play. He's looking at the defense. So the Raiders are in big trouble. Look, the newspaper here in Las Vegas grades them, you know, according to their things. So they got Fs and everything. Okay. They're on the road twice. They got their ass kicked twice. And now they're home. They're playing one of the worst teams in the league that's got more trouble than anything. The Raiders were only 3.5-point favorites last week. Now they're 6.5-point favorites. After the debacles they've been in the past 2 weeks, they come home and they're 6.5-point favorites. I'm going to let you parse this one out for me.
The old saying, which I think is accurate, if you play not to lose, you're going to lose. What I'm saying is, if you've got the lead, and certainly Rams coach Sean McVay does this all the time, you got a couple touchdown lead and you just try to run time off the clock, or maybe you tell your defense back off, let them complete the short passes. How many times have we seen the team behind come back and win? That's why 3 times this year they've blown a 17-point lead, because with that lead, he slows them down instead of even going further with it. I mean, you take advantage of situations like this, but he doesn't do so. And you figure this, you know, he learned his lesson when he was coaching at Denver, all those years as an assistant, but he's never learned his lesson. With all that said, I'm taking the Raiders.
Yeah, I'm afraid I'm going to take the Raiders here too. I mean, the crowd's going to give them a boost. Carr's going to be a little bit upset. I think they can throw the ball deep. Why they don't throw to Davante Adams all the time, I do not know. Okay, I mean, I don't know. The week before this last week, they threw it to him 1 time in the first half. 1 time. So, I mean, that's coaching, nothing more than coaching. And I'm taking the Raiders too. You people out there listening, you have to make up your own mind. We have a lot of insight into this stuff, and we're just throwing you what we know. But in this situation, even though the Raiders are looked like the lousiest team in the league the last 2 weeks, we're going to lay 7 points on them at home and take them to win. Hence, NFL football. Okay, moving down the line, another one that's kind of a disappointment this year, the Arizona Cardinals playing another disappointment this year, the Super Bowl champs, the LA Rams. The Rams are small 3-point home favorites in this matchup, and even more unbelievable is the total between these once 2 high-scoring teams is 43.
I think the Cardinals will win. Kingsbury's job is on the line. I don't think there's any question about that after losing last week to Seattle. The Rams are horrible right now. They really are. And I want to say again, the end of the game against Tampa, and folks, if you watch the end of that game, like 2 minutes to go, Tampa had 2 timeouts. You got to get 1 first down. The Rams are on their own 10-yard line. Cooper Kupp catches a short pass, and he slides down because he doesn't want to go out of bounds. That's not what he had to do. He had to get a first down. And if you look at a tape of that, he had 3 or 4 more yards that he could have run for, but he thought he was smart. Coach didn't tell his club, hey, wait a minute, they have 2 timeouts. We got to get 1 first down. We're on our own 10-yard line. And we saw the result. They had to punt. They didn't make the 3rd down. They had to punt, and we saw Brady do it again. You can't do that. So Kingsbury might not be a great coach, but right now the Rams stink. Akers came back. He didn't make any difference on the ground. I'm a Rams fan since the age of 5. Arizona's going to win this game.
Wow. If I was the people out there listening, I'd take note of that because I've taken note of that. The Rams must really be lousy. I agree with you about Arizona and Kingsbury. They need to fire him. They don't have any direction. They don't have a direction on offense or a direction on defense. They're just running willy-nilly around the field, hoping Kyler Murray can open up and hit them. And that's not going to work. You've got to have some plays. You've got to run the ball. You've got to do certain things in order to get you there over the top. The reason they did so well early on is because Kingsbury fooled everybody in the league. Okay, now they all know he's just going to run crap, so they know how to defend the crap. So Kingsbury, to hear you say he has a chance against the Rams blows my mind. But I agree. The Rams, maybe that's all they wanted to do is win 1 Super Bowl. I don't know. Maybe they're happy with where they are, but I'm with you. I'm not going to bet anything on this game now that you like Arizona, because I can't see them covering against the Rams. And if you don't think the Rams are going to cover, I'm not foolish enough to go against you. So let's move on to another tough matchup. And this one here, I have an opinion on. The Dallas Cowboys, 5-point road favorites at Green Bay. Aaron Ego Rodgers is no good anymore. I watched him throw a pass this last game that hit a helmet of a lineman, bounced up in the air and was intercepted in the end zone. Okay, Aaron Ego, whose fault was that? So anyway, I'm going against Green Bay. I'm taking Dallas, laying 5. I think Green Bay's done. I really do. I don't see him run the ball. I think Rodgers is a powder, and I think he didn't get what he wanted. And anywhere, he didn't get traded to Denver. He didn't want Devontae going to Las Vegas if he wasn't going to get to keep him, or he wanted him going to Denver if he got to go to Denver. I see Rodgers as just a crybaby. Okay, that's all. He's an egotistical crybaby. He's not helping his team at all right now. Dallas has got a strong team, both sides of the line. Even with Dak Prescott, I'm going to take the Cowboys and lay the points.
As you know, I play a lot of fantasy, and I think Pollard of Dallas should have a big afternoon in this encounter. I agree with you. I think the last couple of games, I think it's over internally for the Packers right now. And he couldn't blame his wide receivers, Aaron couldn't, because he knew what he was doing. 9 times out of 10, he'll blame his wide receivers. I think it's done. I really do. I know you're not a big Prescott fan, but he's come back and played well and for the Cowboys. And I guess with Pollard running, and we're not sure if Elliott can play, but I don't think that matters because Pollard certainly could carry the ball 15 to 20 times by himself. So 5 is not a big number. I think the Cowboys in a positive direction and the Packers are done.
I think the Cowboys are better with Pollard anyway. I didn't think Elliott was any good ever, and Pollard certainly is. So we're going with the Cowboys now. We got the late night game coming up. The Los Angeles Chargers on the road to play the San Francisco 49ers. This is a very interesting matchup. Get this. Last week, the 49ers were 4-point home favorites in this matchup. And this week, they opened the number 7. So San Francisco 7. The total went from 47.5 to 46.5. So the total does, it seems like it's going to be a low scoring game. What do you think, Fred? San Francisco laying 7 at home.
49ers having the bye. They got everybody back. On the other side of it, the Chargers do not have a great coach. There's no question about Staley not being a great coach. neither top-notch wide receiver will be playing at this point in time, it looks like anyways. Keenan Allen's going to be out. Williams is going to be out. I think the 49ers will win 30-9, something like that. I don't see the Chargers scoring a lot of points without their wide receivers. And again, I love Herbert. I think he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. He's got one receiver right now in Palmer, and that's it. Top two receivers are out. That's a problem. 49ers have had time to rest. The trade they made is going to make all the difference in the world. I don't know if he's going to throw a touchdown pass and receive a touchdown pass and run for a touchdown pass. But the bottom line is the 49ers will win this night game easily.
I agree with you on that. I agree that the 49ers are coming along. I think the Chargers, I think every week we say the Chargers are on the road. They've been on the road so much. They really have. And with the injuries they have, nobody to throw to. San Francisco defense is always tough. It's why the total is low in this matchup. I'm going to take San Francisco too. I think you hit the number right on the head, like 30-9. That seems like a pretty solid number to pick in that matchup. So if you need to get out on Sunday night, Fred and I both like San Francisco in a big way here coming off their bye week. So once again, it brings us to the end of the roster here. We'll be back with the Monday night matchup next.
Now place your bets. This groundbreaking film details the dramatic rise of legal sports betting in Las Vegas and its growth into a multi-billion-dollar industry worldwide. Through in-depth interviews, personal accounts, and vintage footage, we highlight the key elements and milestones that shaped the sports betting industry into what it is today. This history also dovetails with the changing fortunes of Las Vegas as a gambling town at turns overseen by the elements of organized crime, corporate interests, and the U.S. government. Featured prominently in the film are pioneer odds makers and historians who witnessed these events. Today, betting on sports is a popular pastime and a lifestyle choice for many Americans. Its appeal incorporates the innate drive for competition and the rewards of winning. Watch Now Place Your Bets on Amazon Prime and NowPlaceYourBets.com.
Hi, JJ's back because this is important. Do you know if your Medicare Advantage plan benefits are changing this year? Are your costs and copays going up? Is your doctor still covered? During the annual enrollment period, you can call to find out all the changes to your coverage. Plus, see if you're eligible for a plan with the benefit that adds money back to your Social Security check every month. AEP has a deadline, so don't delay. Call now.
I called to find a plan with lower copays and more dental coverage.
I called to see if my zip code has a plan with the benefit that adds money back to my Social Security check.
I called to make sure my doctors are still in my plan.
Extra benefits, extra money. Dynamite! AEP has a deadline, so don't delay. Call now.
Call 1-800-249-1374. That's 1-800-249-1374 now.
Hi, folks. It's the Medicare annual enrollment period, and this year it's simple. 1, before the deadline, call the number below. 2, check your zip code for a Medicare Advantage plan with prescriptions, dental care, and the benefit that adds money back to your Social Security check every month. 3, you'll find out what you're eligible for. AEP has a deadline. Call now.
I called to find a plan that covers more of my dental expenses.
I call every year to make sure my doctor is still in my plan.
I called to find a plan with lower copays.
I called to see if my zip code has a plan with the benefit that adds money back to my Social Security check.
I call every year.
Millions of people have called the Medicare Coverage Helpline. You can too. Get what you deserve. AEP has a deadline, so don't delay. Call now.
Call 1-800-490-6545. That's 1-800-490-6545 now.
Welcome back to Football Forecast Weekly, everyone. Now it's the time of the show where we look at the Monday night matchup. And it seems like we've hit every Monday night matchup this year. I don't know if we have or not, but it sure seems like we have. This matchup this week is the Washington Commanders on the road to take the Philadelphia Eagles. to task. The Eagles are the only undefeated team in the NFL now. They look very, very strong. Washington is 11-point underdog in this matchup. Fred, how do you see the Monday night game this week?
Commanders lost a game last Sunday to Minnesota that they probably should have won. They gave it away. Heineke is better than people realize. I'm going the over here. I think Heineke will throw a couple of touchdown passes. Philadelphia is impossible at this point to stop the way Hurt is playing. So I think that high scoring game, the 10.5, I don't give that in the National Football League because, folks, believe me, you will lose 2 out of 3 to 3 out of 4 times if you give more than 10 in the NFL. So I'm going with the over, and should be a fun game to watch because Heineke, Old Dominion or not, is a darn good quarterback.
Well, I'm going to say something about Heineke. He did score a lot of points last week, and he is playing fairly well. But at the end of the game, he threw the interception that cost the win. Yeah. So, I mean, some of these guys are okay when they're playing within the realm. This one here, they're not going to be able to play within the realm. Philadelphia is just too strong for them. I look for this to be a blowout. Your indication of not taking teams at huge favorites is very well taken because last week, look, Buffalo didn't cover, Kansas City didn't cover. I mean, over the last couple of weeks, there's only been one team with a double-digit total that has covered. So your opinion makes you money by not playing these games as the years go on, Fred. That's for sure. So in this matchup, you're going to take the over 44. If I had to make a choice here, I'll take the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm going to lay the points, look for a blowout. I agree with Fred on the over. And as we get to the end of the week and to the end of the halfway mark of the season, we've got about a minute left here, Fred. Who do you see taking the Super Bowl? I mean, I know there's many ways for somebody to get there. What's the hot team now that people might be overlooking?
If the shoulder's okay, I like Buffalo and Allen. The question is the shoulder. Right now, we're not sure about this week what's wrong with his shoulder, and is he going to be able to play? I think they're the best team in the National Football League. Kansas City and Buffalo would be a great conference championship game. Philadelphia is not going to go undefeated. And I look at their schedule, it's really not that tough, but there'll be somewhere along the line that will lose. But I think Buffalo Bills would be my choice at this moment in time.
Oh, you can't argue with that. And Philadelphia, even if they lose one, they're going to be right in the hunt for the Super Bowl too. So at this point, it's just as much as a toss-up as it was at the beginning. So I want to thank all of you for joining us on Right Now TV and all the rest of the networks. And we'll be back again next week with more Football Forecast Weekly.